Welcome to Carcon Carne. I'm James Van Osdol, and I'm recording on a very rainy, dreary, gray Saturday afternoon. And if you're a homeowner, when it starts to rain, you probably think, well, what's the impact going to be on my house, on my property? If you, over the past several months, say, took some damage to your house from hail or storms, maybe windows or siding took a beating, and if you were thinking about contacting your insurance company, talk to my guys first at Suburban Roofing and Siding. They're a family-owned company. They provide interior and exterior home remodeling services throughout the suburbs and Chicago area. Collectively, their staff has more than 40 years of experience. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, they do it all. Call their team and get started today. Again, before you contact the insurance company. 224-677-6149 is their number. 224-677-6149. Or make it easy. Go on the web, suburbanroofingandsiding.com. Carcon Carne is also sponsored by this book, 90 Days in the 90s. I want to thank Andy Fry, the author of this book, for his sponsorship of Carcon Carne for the past few months. 90 Days in the 90s is a nostalgia trip. It's a trip you can jump aboard back to the 1990s in Chicago when so much cool stuff was happening. The music scene was exploding on every corner, on every night. And this trip back in 90 Days in the 90s puts you right there. Follow the exploits of Darby as she goes back in time via the Gray Line on the CTA. And she goes back to the 90s, and then the question is, does she stay there or does she come back? If you live in Chicago, if you lived in Chicago, if you like Chicago, you're going to dig this book. 90 Days in the 90s. Get it on Amazon or 90daysinthe90s.com. Did you bring the Grammy?
No.
How do I know you're you?
You don't. You're gonna have to be trusting.
Fair enough. This is Carcon Carne. To my right, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, it is Sean Connors. He's an ensemble member and technical director of Third Coast Percussion. This Tuesday, we're recording the last weekend of April. Tuesday, May 2nd, Metamorphosis makes its Chicago premiere at the Harris Theater. Debuted in New York in January. I want you to explain what this is because it sounds really cool. But before we do that, we are in Edgewater right now, and it's really putting the water in Edgewater because it's pouring on this gray Saturday as we're recording. And when in Edgewater, I think it's customary to go to Ansather. And if you're going to Ansather,
you got to get the cinnamon rolls.
You got to get the cinnamon rolls. And I was saying to you just before we started recording, I don't know if there are napkins in here.
It's going to be nice and sticky.
This is going to be a bit of a high wire. Oh, I don't know if I have any.
Do you need an extra hand?
Wait. Yes!
You did it.
The spare comes through in the clutch. Okay. Napkins.
Thank you.
The Ansather cinnamon roll. For those who maybe are out of the Chicago area, this is about as Chicago as it gets. This Swedish restaurant has been making these for years, and you can get them with your breakfast, but they do quite a big carry-out business on these cinnamon rolls for good reason. Oh, geez. You want to break one up?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, James.
This is going to be challenging.
It's good.
Hey, did you eat yet today?
I don't even know what day it is because we just got back from Hong Kong, so...
Oh, I bet you're upside down.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. I think so. Maybe I ate.
Well, all right, let's start there. Tell me about Hong Kong.
Hong Kong was amazing. We were there hosted by a percussion group called Toolbox Percussion. It's our second time. It was our second time going to Hong Kong. And we were there for the Toolbox International Creative Academy. So we were there for about a week doing a concert and master classes. It was great. It was awesome.
Are you able to explore when you do shows or tours like that?
This particular one was our second time, and our friend Louis, who runs the whole thing, said he wanted us to have fun. So he gave us some days off, and it was awesome. I brought my wife along.
Oh, amazing.
It was great.
Amazing. All right, let's talk about Metamorphosis. It's a combination of all sorts, like worlds are colliding on stage, as I understand it. It's live street dance, EDM, fused with what you do, classical percussion music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the elevator pitch, but I thought you could flesh it out.
Yeah, you nailed the elevator pitch. That's exactly what it is. It's a project that was built, got Third Coast Percussion built with a amazing dance organization called Movement Art Is. It was led by John Bogues and Lil Buck. They are two creative dancers, movement artists, who work in the street dance tradition from all the different street dances, street dance styles from the different cities in the United States, juking from Memphis, footwork styles from the south side of Chicago, animatronics. They build on all these different styles. And this project, Metamorphosis, takes percussion music, some of which is informed by the music that's associated with these dance styles, and we meld it together. So we've been touring the show for, we had built it during the pandemic, during 2020, remotely, and we've been touring it kind of ever since. So we made our Carnegie Hall debut in January with this show, and it features the music of Philip Glass that Third Coast Percussion has arranged for our instruments. Tyonde Braxton, who some of you might know from the band The Battles, also his electronic music, and he's not currently teaching at Princeton. And Jay Lynn, who is a creative IDM music producer, performer, and we partnered with her in a really creative way. She composes on her computer in a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and she's from Northwest Indiana, born in Gary, so she's a Chicagoland gal, and she came to our studio multiple times, sampled, recorded our instruments, and then she composed all the works in her computer, and then we got the opportunity to take those compositions and put them on our instruments. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
And because she's from Gary, she has a Midwestern work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
Which I'm assuming you guys do.
Yeah, Jalen's amazing. She used to work at a steel mill, actually. Her mom had to call her while she was working and tell her that she was in the New York Times, along with Holly Herndon.
My only exposure to steel mills in Gary, I think, is a John Cougar Mellencamp lyric.
Yeah, really? What was that?
Something off Scarecrow. I can't pinpoint it right now. But what you're talking about, this synthesis of sound, styles, approaches, this seems like a really exciting, vibrant, almost necessary evolution for music. Taking what you do and what all these street artists do, like, that's really cool and exciting.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're excited by it too. Yeah, we feel like it pushes some boundaries. It brings us to new paces. It brings the dance to different forms of music that it's been associated with before, and we all, it's kind of like a synergistic effect. We all get to a place that we couldn't have on our own.
Right. And that brings me to the point or purpose of what you do as artists. I feel like, when I hear, or when I've traditionally heard classical music, that says something very specific to me. I realize that specific thing I hear is very limited, but I'm probably not alone. And I think when you all got together and started doing what you're doing, you really were you even thinking in terms of classical, or were you just thinking, let's do something cool with percussion?
I think, James, that's closer to what it is. I don't think we were thinking of ourselves. We struggle with this question all the time. People ask us, oh, well, you're percussionists, what do you do as classical musicians? And I think if most people listened to our albums, classical music might not be the first genre that kind of pops into their head. And percussion is a beautiful vehicle for collaboration because it's present in pretty much every sort of music that you can think of from every culture around the world.
Since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's there's nothing more simple than singing and hitting something, right? Jay Lynn, one of our collaborators, who wrote some of the music in this show, has a really lovely quote that I'll paraphrase that I think applies to everybody in the whole mix, all the collaborators, is that she likes the weirdos from every genre.
Yes.
So, the people who are really trying something new, experimenting, collaborating, and it kind of cuts across any label that way.
Well, when Third Coast Percussion started coming together, were you aware you were taking things in an interesting direction, or was this just who you were at the moment? And
yeah, I think when it started, we're about 20 years old now. We'll have our 20th anniversary in 2 seasons.
Amazing.
And I think when we started, we just loved playing the music that we were playing. We wanted to keep doing it. We all met at Northwestern University, and when the group formed, Third Coast just wanted to keep doing some of the awesome chamber music that has been written for percussion outside of school. And it started with pieces that were written for other folks, and then the music that we play kind of grew into more pieces that were specifically written for us or by us. And little by little, as you said, James, we started kind of pushing it to new places.
You mentioned going to Northwestern. You mentioned the guy from Battles being a teacher at Princeton, was it?
Yes, yeah.
I know you yourself have taught music
Yep.
in school. Not to go too far down that rabbit hole, but let's talk about the importance and value of music in schools. My children both went to a school that fortunately had a music program. They were part of, band and orchestra. I see the value, but I hear stories all the time of how music programs are getting gutted.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I guess talk about how the importance of keeping that alive in our school systems.
Well, as a musician, I would say first and foremost, it's important. Just music for music's sake, I think, is a worthwhile endeavor completely on its own, and for me personally, makes life worth living. But I think anybody who's participated in any performing art would readily say that it opens you up in an incredibly unique way. It helps with creative problem solving in any endeavor. We have a lot of partners actually who we've worked with to develop STEAM curriculum. So some people might be familiar with the acronym STEM,
Sure.
Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. There's another acronym STEAM where you insert the arts into that. And the philosophy behind that is that we get falsely pigeonholed as creative people and analytical people, and there's actually no such thing. There's a melding of that in all the fields, and removing arts education is like removing a part of your brain. I think.
I agree. It is funny. It's like, you pick a team. You're either into math and science or you're a creative person.
Which is nonsense. Yeah.
Utter nonsense.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Grammy. You're a Grammy winner, a multiple-time Grammy nominee. It's a question I'm sure you've been asked, but I'd love to hear it. What did it feel like, one, to be nominated, two, to win?
Yeah, we got really fortunate. The first time we were nominated, we won. And then ever since then, we haven't. But fine by us. It's amazing just to be included and nominated with all those other musicians. It felt really good. It felt like an acknowledgement of what we were doing from our peers was valued, and we should keep doing it. And then the very first time that we got nominated, we got to perform too. So we were on stage at the Grammys and performed with Robbie Coltrane, incredible jazz saxophonist. You really can't beat that. And my favorite little anecdote from that first year is, since we got to perform, we got a green room, a dressing room to warm up on and that sort of thing. And we're between Metallica and Lady Gaga.
Yes.
And we were, we came in not nearly in the same atmosphere, in terms of fame. We're like, oh, what is that? What are they going to be like? And we arrived early in the morning, 8, 9, to get ready for the show. And they were already there warming up. Lady Gaga was doing operatic voice warm up. So it was like a very cool a very cool experience for us to look around and say, you know what, we're all kind of busting our butts at every level.
Right, and I think the joy of something like that to me is no one listens to one type of music only. If you pull up anyone's phone and pull up whatever they're listening to, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, you're going to hear a variety of things. And that's how we all exist. So I love the idea of you, Gaga, and Metallica
yeah.
all occupying the same space, because that could just as easily be the same space on my YouTube Music.
Yeah. It was very cool because Gaga played with Metallica that night too, so it was an awesome collaboration.
I love that, and listening to your music, I love listening to that sort of sound when I'm at work. Like, it keeps me going.
Yeah,
that is like the propulsive undercurrent for how I get stuff done.
That's funny that you say that, James, because we're on one of our tracks is on an intensive studying curated list by Spotify.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's one of our biggest tracks because it's on this playlist that people just click on when they're studying.
That's how I work.
Yeah,
I don't want to sing along with songs, but I just need something. I need a vibe.
Yeah, we love to provide that vibe. And other vibes too.
Mission accomplished. Do you hear the world differently? I was watching a video where you're showing how to make sounds with pipes on foam at nodal points. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's a very niche video. I know what you're talking about for other percussionists, but yeah.
I mean, do you hear the world differently? I mean, do you look at a dashboard and think, I can make that sound cool?
Oh, a little bit of the sticky bun guy. I think so, yes. We are always looking for cool sounds, and I feel like, especially percussionists, unlike other musicians who are maybe defined by one or two instruments or an instrument that they play, percussionists is basically just describes how you're playing, just you're hitting stuff. So we're kind of like a collector of sounds and timbre, so we're always on the lookout for stuff. We bought some instruments over in Hong Kong that we're going to incorporate into our next project, probably. We have some stuff on stage at the Harris Theater on Tuesday night at 7:30. You can see this show, Metamorphosis, May 2nd. Some things that you would normally recognize as musical instruments, but other things that you would think of more as construction materials or things from around your house, or just like bowls of water and that sort of thing.
I love that. What was the first instrument you ever picked up?
Oh, well, if we're talking like this, probably pots and pans on the floor in my parents' kitchen. But the first formal instrument that I played was piano.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you find your love for percussion?
I think it was as soon as I started playing percussion. We were all of us in the group are kind of like musical omnivores and play a bunch of different instruments, but I kind of have a boring start. I played piano as a little kid, and then when it was time to pick an instrument in school, I wanted to do percussion because I saw that the drummers were in everything. They weren't just in bands. They weren't just in orchestra. There was percussionists playing with the choir, with the jazz bands, and rock bands, and that friends had made in their garages and stuff. So I wanted to play percussion because you did everything, and I've continued to do it.
So again, Metamorphosis opens at the Harris Theater on May 2nd, which is a Tuesday night. By the way, it's pouring out.
It is.
I'm assuming you can hear the rain pelting my car through the microphones right now. I talk to a lot of more rock or alternative bands, which are 3 to 5 people as a rule. And I know it's hard to build a song, to create music together with that type of a group. When we're talking about you working with Third Coast and then expanding to stage with other collaborators, that seems really difficult to me. It seems like the opportunity to butt heads.
Yes, it is. It is. Everybody in Third Coast is really passionate and has a lot of opinions. But we really do believe in collaboration, and some of the music, especially on this project, was made, I would say, just the same way that a band would in their rehearsal studio, trying stuff out, getting in each other's faces about it. We all took the lead on certain tunes in the project, especially with Jay Lynn's music, orchestrating and arranging it. And yeah, we definitely hit crossroads that we just had to get through and make decisions about, and it was very collaborative. Yeah.
And 20 years in, you know how to navigate around each other.
Yeah. I feel like at this point we're pretty good at communicating with each other. Yeah.
I'm excited to see Tuesday. I'm excited to see what comes next. Congratulations on all you've accomplished. The Grammy Award nominated, the Grammy Award winning Third Coast. You're awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now you can finish your cinnamon.
Yeah, great.